On a cold April night in 1912, the Titanic, then the most celebrated ship in the world, an iceberg and disappeared beneath the waves of the North Atlantic. The tragedy took over 1,500 lives and left the massive wreck lost somewhere in a vast, unforgiving ocean. For decades, the final resting place of the Titanic was shrouded in mystery, a symbol of both hubris and heartbreak, and a monumental puzzle that tantalized explorers and captivated the world. Stories, theories, and unsuccessful expeditions unfolded across the 20th century. Some searched by ship, others scoured the deep with sonar, but each venture came back empty-handed. The problem was daunting. The North Atlantic in the Titanic's last reported location is a wild and remote patch of sea, racked by terrible weather and deeper than almost any technology of the early 20th century could explore. The Titanic hadn't simply vanished, it had settled under more than 12,000 feet of icy water. The challenge called for technology, perseverance, and a little bit of luck. By the early 1980s, undersea exploration had advanced, but the Titanic still eluded discovery. That was until 1985, when the search entered a new era. Led by an American oceanographer named Dr. Robert Ballard. Ballard was known for his passion for shipwrecks and his relentless curiosity about the world beneath the waves. At the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, he'd been developing new ways to explore the deep sea, including remotely operated vehicles that could go where humans could not. But behind Ballard's efforts was an added twist. His search for the Titanic was intertwined with a secret Cold War mission. The U.S. Navy had approached Ballard for help investigating the wrecks of two American nuclear submarines, Thresher and Scorpion, lost in the same North Atlantic abyss where Titanic lay. The agreement was ingenious. The Navy would fund Ballard's expedition if he first examined their submarines. If time and resources allowed, he could then hunt for Titanic. That summer, Ballard's team set out in the research vessel, equipped with a deep-sea towed camera system called Argo. Argo was a marvel of video sled, festooned with lights and cameras, built to skim along the pitch-black ocean floor and relay images back to hopeful eyes on the surface. By late August 1985, with the Navy mission complete, Ballard turned his attention to Titanic. Rather than combing vast swaths of seafloor with little direction, Ballard devised a different strategy. He reasoned that when Titanic plunged beneath the surface and broke apart, it would have scattered a trail of debris, a long, narrow field of wreckage that might be easier to find than the ship herself. If Argo could find even a peace-an item as small as a soup tureen or a octarine or a shearth, our explorers could follow this breadcrumb trail to the main body of the wreck. With wintry gales closing in and only days left in the expedition, tension mounted. The team spent endless hours staring at black-and-white video feeds from Argo, catching only glimpses of the muddy bottom, rocks, or shadowy shapes that, for fleeting seconds, inspired hope, then disappointment. Sleep was rare. Everyone knew that failure would mean waiting months, perhaps years, to return. Then, in the early morning of September 1st, 1985, something appeared on the monitors. At first, it looked like nothing more than a rusty metal object, an ordinary boiler, but a second glance left no doubt. The team erupted in shouts of triumph. Titanic's unmistakable twin steam boilers, lying side by side, were staring back at them from the bottom of the sea. The ship had finally been found. Flush with excitement, the team pressed onward. The cameras rolled past, twisted beams, broken dishes, and the ghostly outlines of shoes, realizing they'd stumbled into the Titanic's debris field. In the hours that followed, Argos cameras revealed the battered hull, split cleanly in two, the graceful bow largely intact. her famous railings and anchor chains recognizable even after more than 70 years underwater. The stern lay crushed and mangled, testament to its final, violent descent. News of the find swept across the globe. After decades of mystery and heartbreak, the world at last knew where Titanic lay. 370 miles off the coast of Newfoundland, in darkness and silence, untouched except by time and the deep-sea currents. But the discovery was not just about solving history's great maritime riddle. It was about pushing the boundaries of science, engineering, and human determination. Ballard and his team proved that with ingenuity and perseverance, the most elusive secrets still buried in the deep can be brought to light. The Titanic's resting place is now a memorial, a site for science and reflection, quietly watched by cameras and submersibles instead of hopeful survivors. And as the Argo's first grainy images flickered across the screen, explorers across the world knew, no matter how lost, some stories can still be found.